I just got to let you have it. You want to know the secret of making more sales? We're going to talk about it today because one of the most common questions is, how do I attract more customers to buy my stuff, to buy my product? You get the idea, to buy my dang item. Just in case you don't know me, I made $275K selling on Amazon my first year, and now I'm dedicated to helping other people have successful stores, grow them stores, build them stores, find those products, find that niche. So there's a lot of assumptions around how to sell a product because there's a lot of commonalities that people do that we have accepted that we think is right because everyone does it. So we believe because everyone's doing it, it must be the right way. Like anything, when you're selling a product, it's never just one thing. And this includes if you're selling on a third-party platform like Amazon or Etsy, or you're on your own website like Shopify, Squarespace, Wix. We can keep on going. I'm sure there's a long list of different sites that you could have. I see people where they start selling their product and they think because they're selling that specific product, automatically they're just gonna attract that person because they're selling that product. You know what I'm talking about. Let me break this down a little bit more. So let's say a product-based owner is selling a t-shirt. The assumption from a product-based owner is because they're selling a t-shirt, it means that everyone in the books in this world is just gonna flock to them because they're selling a t-shirt. But we know that's not true, but we still do it. We still have the belief secretly. We know that if it were true, you wouldn't have favorite stores, you wouldn't have go-to brands that you go to, and technically you would just go anywhere. So you'd be like, you know what, I need a t-shirt, and automatically you would just go to anywhere, Tom, Dick, and Harry. And you wouldn't be like, oh, I want a specific place. Why do product owners expect people to think like that when they actually don't? I've seen it, and I'll see product owners then get upset because no one's buying their thing. If you're too general, you are going to attract general people. And what general means is someone who is not looking to buy what you specifically offer. If you want to hide behind your product and there's no oomph, you ain't gonna last long. Your main goal is to figure out what makes you unique. What do you stand for and what do you stand against? What are you doing differently than someone else? A good place to start is to find 5 businesses, they don't have to be exactly like you, but that have a similar audience to you, and see what they're doing. See what they're doing good and see areas where they can improve on that you can do better. Mediocre does not sell. So if you don't have no type of unique positioning, you cannot expect to sell anything if you are just like everyone else. Why should they buy from you if you are the same like everyone else and you don't stand out, especially if you're small and you're trying to build? So we just wiped out assumption number 1, and we're definitely going to be diving deeper. We're diving deeper. We're not just leaving it here. Assumption number 2 is they think because they are selling a product that they don't need a niche. Oh, so you don't need a niche. Better yet, they don't even need an ideal audience because it's just a product. If you don't know who you're selling to, how will you know who to sell to? You want to create or have that person in your mind of the ideal person that would be interested in the product that you currently sell. It can't be blank because else you're selling to no one. Once you know who you're speaking to, it's way easier to create content. A lot of times, the reason why people struggle with creating content and they don't know what to create is because they have no ideal customer. So if you have no ideal customer and it's just blank, how would you know what content to create? How do you know what direction to do? How do you relate to the person so that they buy? Goes back to that always. You can actually go back to the video that I did where I talked about how to attract your ideal audience, and there's actually a part 1 and part 2 where I talk about how to find your niche, how to create the profile. I already did that, so I got you. Here's the how-to. So let's say if you're selling a t-shirt, right? But we all know that's broad, so we know already that we need to get deeper. You would need to go a little smaller. So who are you targeting? So are these people active people? Are they creative people? Are they crazy? I'm just kidding. Is it business people who love inspirational quotes? And of course the design will matter, right? Because If you are targeting a certain type of person, your design is gonna matter, the packaging is gonna matter, right? But really what this really helps is helping you create a messaging for your brand. So you attract that person. So when they come across your brand, they're like, oh my God, this is speaking to me. And I'm sure you've had that experience when you came across a brand and you're like, wait, hold on here. I'm interested in this. And let me stick around a bit. That's what it's like. So your goal is to find a niche so that way you can then attract your ideal audience. Because if you don't know your messaging and you don't know who you're targeting, you're not going to attract those type of people, because when you're too broad, right, no one's going to attract to it. But if you're very specific, and let's say you're targeting moms, then right away, like, you're gonna attract some moms, and then you go deeper. You're gonna attract moms, for example, who have twins, or moms who feel overwhelmed. Like, you can keep on going with this. So imagine when you create that profile, then your messaging will start to line up with how they feel and the type of person they are. Think of it like this: like, have you ever been to a store, or you had something in mind that you're looking for, and you did your research, all of a sudden you found this store and you're like, this is me. I can even go deeper with this. Like, if I was looking for someone to help with my curls so they could get more defined, and you're speaking straight to me and they're like, hey, I know your hair is very frizzy. I know it needs help. I know you need a gel that's strong enough to hold them curls so it doesn't get out of control. You know, right away, I'll be like, hold on, hold up here. They're talking right to me. And right away, I'm gonna pay attention. Right away, I'm gonna stick to them. And most likely, right away, I'm gonna buy their product. You see? So imagine if they're way more general and they're like, hey, I'm for everyone. That makes a big difference, because then I'll be like, okay, well, they're not talking about me, right? And everyone's saying they're not talking about me. So then what happens? Everyone leaves because they're like, well, they relate to nobody. So basically, it's something so special when that person has you in their mind. It's like that friend that thinks about you and you're on their mind. It's something so precious about that, because you feel important, right? When someone's just speaking specifically to you. And that's how you want to make your ideal audience feel, is that when you speak, they just want to listen. And they're like, oh, this girl gets me. And another reason why you can't target everybody, right? And make the assumption that just because you have a product, you don't need a niche, is because, you know, it's just like how you could be friends with someone and still have different interests. Like, I have friends that love doing volleyball, and guess what? I don't like doing volleyball, but we get along in a different way. But we still have different likes and different interests. You know the drill. Like the video if this has been helpful so far, and text YouTube to the number in the description. Let's do this, y'all, to get a next level training. I understand that you need sales. That's the point of a business. And assumption number 3 is that people think, like, as soon as they're selling a product, they just start selling the product and that's it. And they're just like, buy my stuff and that's it. The thing about it is that when you're so cold, is that guess what happens? You're not relating to people. So therefore people start looking over their head, right? Because you're not relating. Why would they pay attention to your product if you're just so cold saying buy your product? And that's it, and you're not taking time to relate. Why should they pay attention to you? And you know what's one of the best accounts to interact with is usually the product-based owners who take time to tell stories. It's a different vibe. Yo, we buy from people. We don't just buy from a product. And at the end of the day, if I'm connecting with you and you're telling me a dang bad story, I'm gonna stick around, because I'll be like, oh, this girl's a real chick. This girl's real. And you know what the funny part is that people who just say buy my stuff, buy my thing, is they're the ones that usually complain about engagement. But the thing about it, it's proven that when you're just selling and you're doing a selling post, it's usually gonna get less engagement when you do a selling post. Now imagine if you attach a story to it and then you put it at the end, right? If people connect with it, they'll comment, because they're like, okay, she's telling a story and she's just doing like a call to action. What do you think? If you tell a story, people connect with it, even though there's a CTA, and people are commenting that your post is gonna be pushed in the algorithm. When I was selling on Amazon, even though like I didn't have to focus so much on social media, I still did, because visibility is important no matter what you do. Stop assuming because you're selling on Amazon or Etsy, you don't need visibility. I think it's one of the most important things to have is visibility. So when you decide to go on another platform, you're good to go. But let's continue. So I was on Facebook a lot, and one of the things I quickly learned was how powerful stories were. And I noticed that the more stories I had people in my inbox saying like, oh, what do you do? What do you sell? Like, how can I just buy your product? They didn't even know what I sold, right? And that's what you want. You want that type of connection, because people take notice when you're you're giving value, people notice, right? And people want to give back. It's reciprocal energy. I quickly learned if you inspire someone, people are ready to pull out their wallet. Think about it, like, especially if you've bought something recently, and I'm not talking about from Target or Walmart, all the big guys. I'm talking about from a small business. And I found that when the owner was more interactive and they're more relatable, I usually bought. I remember I was buying a $100 hair product because the owner was so close with his audience and his customers. I bought from him. $100, baby. It definitely catches your eye. You don't have to do this, but it catches people's eye when you're telling stories, when you're sharing about your life. Because you're not just your business, you actually have a personal life. You're actually a human being. Imagine if you just had a friend, and nothing's wrong with just talking about business, but imagine you just had a friend always reminding you to buy your stuff. Wouldn't that get boring? Like, and you didn't have any other conversations and that was all you spoke about. You'd probably run eventually, just a minute. So don't do it to your ideal clients as well. Tell them stories. Now I'm gonna share the how-tos, because I can't do this without sharing the how-tos. Start by thinking of at least 5 moments in your life. Like 5 moments that has inspired you or you learned from, where a bad moment turned into a good moment. You share what you want to share. You be vulnerable as much as you want to be vulnerable. This is about you here and how much you want to share. So example, this could be when you started your business. It could be why you started your business, what you learned about in the past year. It could be a very life-changing moment. You know, like how you went from that part-time job and went into your full-time job, what you learned when you quit your job. I could keep on going. So it's like certain milestones. It could even be what happened to you in a day. Like what happened to you today? What did you learn? What was that learning moment or aha moment for that specific day? And share it, because guess what? It's gonna inspire people when you share real stories. Bet your life more people will engage with your stuff when you do this. Why? Because you appear as human, because people buy from people, not just the product. And it's more stronger, right? Because there's more personality. Like if you're interacting, people are gonna interact with you. If you're giving value, people are gonna come back, and you're always going to be rewarded when you give value. That's what a lot of people are not doing, so you'll stand out. Of course, there's way more to it. I can go into more detail, but I feel like this is enough to break those assumptions, and you have something to start from right now. And feel free to put it in the comments which one you are going to try today. Let's do this.